You've probably heard the term full stack development thrown around a lot, right? But what does it actually mean? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and break it all down. Everything from the buttons you click to the invisible engine that makes your favorite apps work.
So let's start with something you do every single day, clicking on a YouTube video. It seems so simple, almost like magic, but the second you click, there is a massive, incredibly complex system that just springs into action, all in the blink of an eye.
And that's because you're not just using a simple website with some text and images. No, what you're interacting with is something way more dynamic, way more powerful. It's what we call a web application.
So, here's our game plan for today. First, we'll talk about what makes something more than just a website. Then, we'll dive into the two big parts, the front end, which is what you see, and the back end, the hidden engine. After that, we'll meet the person who brings it all together, the full stack developer. And finally, we'll get a really cool way to visualize what this whole stack thing actually looks like.
All right, first stop. Let's look under the hood of a modern web app. When you really get down to it, it's built from two fundamental major components.
I mean, just try to wrap your head around the sheer scale of something like YouTube. It's not just a few pages. We're talking billions of hours of video content. All of that is stored on these massive remote servers, maybe thousands of miles away from you, but it all shows up on your screen almost instantly. That's the power of a real web application. Okay, so let's dig into that first major component, the front end. The easiest way to think about this is it's everything you can see and touch. It's your window into the entire application.
So the technical term is front end, but you'll also hear it called the client side. It's basically the user interface. It's everything that actually shows up in your web browser. The video player, the search bar, the comment section, all of it. It's the entire visual world of the app.
And the front end is built using three core technologies that work together. I love this analogy. Think of it like building a house. HTML is the actual structure, the walls, the floors, the roof. CSS is all the design and decoration, the paint colors, the furniture, the style that makes it look good. And then JavaScript, that's the electricity and the plumbing. It's what makes everything actually work when you flip a switch or turn on a faucet. But that slick, beautiful user interface, that's really just the tip of the iceberg. Behind the scenes, there's this powerful, invisible engine doing all the heavy lifting, and that is the back end. The back end, or the server side, is the real brain of the operation. It doesn't live in your browser at all. It runs on these powerful remote computers called servers. Its job is to manage all the data, handle your login, figure out what video to recommend next. Basically, it handles every single request the front end sends its way. And this chart here shows that division of labor perfectly. The front end is what you see. It shows you that nice-looking video player. But the second you hit play, the front end sends a message to the back end, and the back end is the workhorse. It takes that request, dives into a massive database to find the exact video you want, and then sends all that video data right back to your screen.
So if you've got these two totally different worlds, the front end and the back end, who actually builds them? Well, this is where the main character of our story comes in, the full stack developer.
A full-stack developer is essentially an engineer who's comfortable working on both sides of that divide. They can build that beautiful, interactive user interface you see, but they can also go behind the scenes to design the server, manage the database, and build the critical communication channels that let the front end and back end talk to each other. Now, I gotta tell you, this job title is actually a bit controversial. Some developers will tell you full stack is just a buzzword. Their argument is that technology has become so complicated. There's no way a single person can be a true expert in everything. But, whether you love the term or hate it, it's definitely stuck around. So why is it even called a stack in the first place? To really get this, we're going to use a simple, but I think a really perfect analogy. It sounds a little silly, but just imagine taking every single piece of technology that makes a web app run and just laying them out one on top of the other. What you'd get is this layered structure that looks, well, a lot like a stack of pancakes. So let's cut through this pancake stack, layer by layer. At the very top, you have the browser. That's the front end we talked about. Below that, you have the internet itself, connecting everything. Then we get into the back end layers. You've got the API, which acts like a translator between the front and back. The web server is like a traffic cop, directing requests. The database is the massive library storing all the information. And at the very bottom, you have the operating system, the fundamental ground the whole server is built on.
And this brings it all back to our master builder. A full-stack developer is someone who can work on any pancake in this stack. They know how to build the user-facing stuff, they know how to write the server logic, they can manage the database, and, most importantly, they understand how all of these layers fit together to create one seamless experience for you.
And all of this leaves us with one big final question. As technology gets more and more complicated, can any one person really be a master of the entire stack, from top to bottom? Or is the modern full-stack developer more of a super talented generalist, a jack of all trades, whose real genius is just knowing how to connect all the pieces? That's the big debate, and frankly, it's what makes this whole field so interesting.